CEO Scott Blackman says further action is coming regarding the 12-time swimming medalist Ryan Lochte and his 3 teammates, whose story of a robbery overshadowed the Rio de Janeiro Games. Here's Lochte with NBC's Matt Lauer about the gas station incident in Rio. Matt Lauer did a great job in that interview.
Yes, he did.
Stephen A., has your opinion changed now that you've heard from Lochte?
It hasn't changed, but it's softened. And what I mean by that is that he's still a liar. He still embarrassed himself, Team USA, in the United States of America. He still should be ashamed of himself. All of those things are true. But I was listening to Jeremy Schaap on Mike and Mike this morning, and I thought that he made valid points. There was a gun pointed at them. There was someone who basically, tried to stick them up. There was somebody that got in their face, and they were dressed in like a security outfit, according to what I heard Jeremy Schaap said. So, yeah, you embellished it a little bit more by saying people who pretended to be police officers and exacerbated an otherwise embarrassing situation, and you left out the part about you urinating on stuff and tearing down signs. You left out some of your insidious behavior, not to mention the fact that, to me, what resonates with me profoundly is that you skipped out of the country and left your teammates there, knowing that you had fabricated, knowing that you had embellished. So in that regard, I don't take back anything that I said. But if you look at what transpired, if indeed somebody in a security uniform stopped you, if indeed they pointed a gun at you, the fabrication was there, but it was more embellishment than fabrication per se. You see what I'm saying? Because of the security, because of a gun being pointed at you, et cetera, et cetera. It was stupid. It was immature. It was a lot of different things. But it wasn't a capital offense or anything like that. And I think when you look at it that way, you sort of lighten up just a touch. It was wrong. And then not only that, if I'm understanding it correctly, he had texted his mama, who was on a bus with reporters or something like that, informing her that somebody had stuck him up or somebody had stuck a gun in his face or whatever the case may be. So once the mom told this to a couple of people, he might have felt compelled to continue something. Just found
want to make a liar out of his mama.
He just found himself in a precarious situation. But he's not 18.
He's my age.
He's 32 years old, if I remember correctly. I mean, you're supposed to know better than this, and I'm not trying to absolve him in any way. It just puts it into perspective that you were an idiot, you were a liar, but last time I checked, that's not a capital offense. Far, far worse could have been done. That wasn't the case here. He should still be ashamed of himself, but at least he's faced the music now.
Yeah, but he did lie to police officials, which is an offense. My opinion of him has not changed. Not that, Stephen A., you might be able to interpret it as an embellishment rather than a pure fabrication, saying he was robbed. Was it extortion? Was it robbery? Was it paying for damages? Saying it was some kind of police official when, in fact, it was a security guard. That you could call an embellishment. But what he says here in the Matt Lauer interview is, it seems to me, intentional misrepresentation of that scenario, because what he left out there and what he left out initially is the whole shooting match, which is they were vandalizing property and disrespecting it, and kind of, but they were vandalizing. But
they were drunk.
Oh, well, okay, you're still responsible for your behavior when you're drunk as a 32-year-old adult. I mean, we understand.
32.
By the way, I am largely sympathetic to that excuse because people are often accused of showing poor judgment when they're drunk, including drunk driving, by the way. And you say, well, yeah, but that's one of the pernicious effects of alcohol, is it affects your judgment negatively. So I'm sympathetic to that idea, but not toward drunk driving, and not toward vandalizing property with an excuse that you were drunk. But even that, to me, is not the issue. The issue is when you told the story, you left that part out. Even in retelling it here, you essentially gloss over that part. So I see it as more than an embellishment because of that, not because of the fact that there was a gun. Yes, embellishing it was an officer and not a security guard. Maybe it wasn't a robbery. Maybe it was more extortion, or maybe just pay for the damages you just caused. That part's embellishment. But leaving out the catalyst for the entire scenario, which is your irresponsible and
well, that's why we called him a liar.
Behavior, That's the problem. And I think even there in the interview with Matt Lauer, he's essentially, again, misrepresenting what just happened by focusing on, call it extortion, call it robbery. Dude, what about the part when you vandalized the property?
Because that wasn't the issue everybody's been focusing on. It's a national story because he lied. It's a national story because you had falsely implicated law enforcement officials in Brazil and turned an immature act into a national fiasco. That was why it was the story. Now, granted, again, the vandalism, urinating on the side of course, inexcusable stuff. We all know that. But the reason why it was a story is why he was being interviewed. The reason why it was a story is because he was lying on somebody else, not because he left out the fact that he urinated on the wall or tore down a sign. Of course it doesn't help, and nobody's trying to say it does. Why would I say that? But the point is, that's not why it became an international
I'll tell you what,
incident.
take that part out and just imagine the rest of the scenario playing out. Let's say the vandalism never occurred, and it turned out that a security guard came, pointed a gun at them, and demanded money. Just that part, saying that the gun was at his head instead of just in his direction, saying that it was a police officer instead of a security guard. I don't know that that's necessarily lying. That may be purely you're in the moment, the adrenaline's going, you don't retell it properly, your memory's faulty, maybe you're exaggerating, but the vandalism, which set the whole thing off, is really what makes everything else after that an intentional distortion. I think that is the heart of the lie. It's if only a lie by omission, but it's still a lie.
I think the reason why it irks me so much is we talk about disenfranchised communities like Brazil. I have so many family members that came over to America, started small businesses, all the sacrifice, everything that they put into that, and to be able to go into somebody's business and destroy it where you don't have tons of resources to just put it all back to you, that's what irks me so much.
Well, it irks you, Molly, but here's the problem with that. If you're drunk, are you thinking, again, it's not...
He's 32.
But wait a minute,
wait,
excuse me. The jails are filled with people with DUIs, DWIs, I mean, all of that stuff. I mean, they are irresponsible individuals, and by the way, they ain't just 20-year-olds, okay? There's a whole bunch of adults that do stupid, immature, and irresponsible things. All I'm trying to say is that I sincerely doubt that somebody inebriated in the wee hours of the morning in a foreign country is thinking about the social aspects of things.
I'm just telling you.
I'm just saying.
What part resonates with me? I get the safety point, but that resonates with me. It's entitled behavior.
It's entitled behavior. And by the way, if you want to take it from a kind of common sense point of view, is at the end of the world, if a drunk kid, although he's 32 years old, but whatever, a drunk person needs to use the bathroom and there's a lock on the door and break, that's not the end of the world, I suppose. Nor maybe is it the end of the world if the owner of the establishment says, you got to pay me for that. They say, no, I don't. And they have protection there in the form of a weapon, and they say, oh, yes, you do. That's also, by the way, not the best way to handle things, but along the same reasoning you're applying to Lochte, that's understandable, too.
He could have urinated outside. He was comfortable urinating on the walls and not broke the bathroom door.
Y'all are dissecting it a little bit too much when you're drunk. That's not what you do.
When we come back, Dak, he is on the attack. Looks like Jerry and the Cowboys have found their backup quarterback. But should Tony Romo be worried about the rising star? Look who's here to weigh in on this subject, the coach, Herm Edwards. Always a pleasure when Herm's in the house. Don't miss that discussion.
Did I say he could come here?
Next. Yeah, he needs to take control of the situation.
The moral to the story, just tell the truth the first time.